All right. We are here. This is the Working Title Show with Zach Sams, and it is January. It's 2019. We're in a new year, but if you went outside, it looks really nice. Zach Lewis in the booth, my ever-present producer. How are you doing, brother?
Yes, producer and DJ extraordinaire. Zach on the ones and twos in here. I'm doing great. Zach, how are you?
Wow. How many of these beers have you had?
I have done this a long time, Zach. I'm very experienced in the art of the introduction.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I won't be so forward next time.
You're very fresh. Very fresh. So, Zach, we got a great show today. We have a great guest. As usual, we're talking about good news, positive things, and it's easy to talk about those things when you are in DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It's the best economy in the U.S. It's also the best real estate economy in the U.S. And it's also the best place to live in the U.S. Obviously, because everybody's moving here.
Obviously.
So you can't argue with numbers, right? So our guest today is Matt Kelderman. Matt, you are the CEO of the HergGroup, powered by Keller Williams. So Keller Williams, you must be in the real estate business.
Yeah, we do a little bit with some houses, right?
Yeah.
What is it? 1 out of every 3 transactions in DFW is a KW agent. We've saturated this market.
Is that the stat?
Yeah, there's 1 out of every 3 deals has a KW agent attached to it. It's pretty nuts.
So I wasn't even planning on asking you this, but why is that? What makes KW? I guess do the most production or have the most people selling homes? Why do more flock there than some of the other brokerage?
I think here in Texas, part of it's just because it started in Austin, right? So we're close to the epicenter of where it all began in the early 80s. So we were one of the first early adopters, right? Keller Williams came to kind of Dallas in one of their first few moves.
Right.
It's the largest real estate brand on the planet, too. So by default, it's going to have the most agents, take the most market share, and in DFW, it's just really strong. There's you go up and down Preston, you probably see 5 or 6 different Keller Williams offices.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So hence why 1 out of every 3 is a KW listing or sale, right?
Yeah.
So I just mentioned it. It's January 2019, new year. It's just the 17th. We're barely halfway through the month, and when you read the trade magazines and things like that, they say somebody who's buying a house, they have a window of 24 months or whatever when they start thinking about it versus when they actually buy that home, and similar to somebody who's selling a home. So people are starting to think, if maybe this is that year, I'm going to buy a home this year, for the first time, or I'm going to relocate, or I'm going to get a bigger home, or vice versa. They're selling a home because they're ready to move. So as people are starting to think about real estate for them personally in 2019, what does the market look like? If you listen to the news, you get a lot of different reports. Depending on if you're listening to national news, they're saying there's a bubble out there. If you're listening to local news, depending on who it is, they're saying that the market's taking a turn down. Then the other day I read something that the market has ticked up a little bit, and we were just talking about that. You were saying January's kind of already starting to buzz. So to the person who's not in the business, what do you tell them when they ask about what's real estate, doing in 2019? What's the outlook?
I mean, we've been seeing smoking hot appreciation in 14, 15, 16, 17. So I think it's really easy to write articles that the sky is falling. In reality, we're just leveling off. Right? It would have been...
You can't have a record year every year.
Yeah.
Right?
And interest rates have gone up a little bit, which I think steals a little bit of buyer's purchase power, but at the same time, we couldn't sit on 3.5% forever either. So a stronger economy is going to have a bit higher interest rates typically. DFW is a little bit insulated because, like you said, we have so many people moving here.
Right.
We're still really low on inventory, but sellers are having to adjust a little bit. Put your house on the market and have an offer by Sunday and multiples, it's not necessarily happening at every price point anymore.
Right.
So we just have this weird river meets the ocean type of thing where the waters aren't mixing because buyers are seeing days on market tick up and fighting different interest rates, whereas sellers are seeing this market that's existed for the past 5 years and think that they still have all the leverage, and that's just not the case.
Right. They're still thinking about the story their neighbor told them, that they had, people beating their door down to buy their home at any price, and now that's not quite the case.
It's not the case at all. And it honestly, it kind of makes the case for for the real estate industry as well. I mean, we'll see people, real estate agents, right, like leaving the industry during this kind of leveling off,
right?
Just because it's been so hot, you're going to have everybody getting their real estate license. So it's going to be 2019 is going to be interesting, man. I mean, this leveling off started in September of 2017. If we really look at the numbers, it's kind of been there for a while. We had the spring come in last year and it rebounded nicely, but around July last year, people were getting nervous, and there's a lot of agents who weren't really sure what was happening.
Sure.
But it looks like the long, dark winter is over for the time being.
You know, what's funny is, we when we say leveling off, I mean, you and I are talking about the amount of sales are leveling off, but the amount of people coming to Dallas really isn't leveling off. So, like, where are these people go? If things are slowing down, not as many sales, but we still have a ton of people moving here. Where are they going to live? I mean, they're not pitching tents on the side of the highway. So, like, where are they going?
There's a couple things in Dallas. Like, rental new construction is up, right? And rental prices will go up. So the people who own apartment complexes are making a mint right now.
Yes.
So there's a high rental demographic for sure, and that's fine, right?
So hold on real second. Why do I think it's somewhere in the 60s, upper 60s, is how many people are, home ownership in across the U.S. So when people are moving to Texas, and we have, for even a major metropolitan area, is one of the most affordable places in the entire country, right? So what makes somebody want to rent and not buy? Is that a choice, or like maybe they could buy, they just want to rent, or is there something else going on there? They're not sure about the area, so they want to check it out first. Like, how does that work?
I think there's a small demographic of people who are just more comfortable renting, right? Don't want to mow the lawn, don't want to deal with the air conditioner blowing up, that kind of stuff.
Right.
The reality is, I think the biggest barrier to home ownership for most people is down payment.
Right.
We run into buyers all the time that they can afford the monthly payment. They just can't afford the $10,000, $12,000 they need to scrape together in order to cover that 3.5% FHA, right, or whatever it is. And so down payment assistance programs have became a lot more popular, right? Depending on incomes.
So those are out there.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, Keller Williams has Keller Mortgage, which is its own exclusive thing that saves people like 2% on down payment.
Ooh, I've never heard that before.
Yes. I mean, if you're an FHA, you're talking like you're bringing 1.5% down. Lenders have really good programs too. So there's the biggest barrier to entry for most people is just that down payment aspect of it. And then the people coming in from out of state, I don't know what the number was. I literally just heard it yesterday. But Texas had more people moving from out of state to Texas than any other state.
Yes.
The majority of those people came from California,
sure.
Right? I actually work a lot with other agents around the country. I represented 20 out-of-state agents last year with their referrals here, and we've already secured, today I secured the 14th one since January 1.
Wow.
From other agents who have clients who are moving here that need a good agent to take care of them.
Right.
So that's something I personally focus on for my business, but there are a ton of people still coming here, and they need places to go. Now, that's why Prosper and Salina have blown up. That's why Anna and Melissa have blown up. You've seen kind of the areas that used to be the sticks. There's a lot of construction going on. I mean, look at the new construction in Midlothian is nuts. It's far, but the schools are awesome, and there's tons of new houses out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's far for some. I mean, it just depends on what you're doing, right? And that's one of the funny things about DFW. It just keeps getting wider and wider and wider, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We got to take a quick break. We will be back in a few minutes. But Matt, I just want to thank you for being here, and we'll talk to you again in a few minutes.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the invite.
You got it. And all right, we are back. Is that the outfield, Zach?
There's my mic. That's the outfield.
That sounds like the outfield to me.
It's not the outfield.
It's not. I love the outfield.
Yeah.
I wish they would.
You mentioned it before.
I wish they'd come back to Dallas.
Thinking, I need to get some outfield likes on here. Something that sounds just close enough.
We should call them. I bet they would love for all of our millions of listeners to listen to the outfield.
Hey, outfield,
in between songs.
Slip us a sponsorship. Yeah, slip us a resume.
You think they would actually ask for like proof that we have millions of listeners?
I think.
Or do you think they'd just take our word for it?
I think we'd consider them as an option.
I think they would. I think they would believe us.
I'll send them an email telling them you do.
Yeah, I've seen all. I've seen them all.
Set.
Yeah,
we
standing outside
they're like
the
right
studio.
out there. They're right out there.
We got it laced up. Perfect.
Matt, you are back. Matt Kelderman is the CEO of the HergGroup, powered by Keller Williams.
Yes, sir.
Keller Williams Realty. Hey, I was thinking about this when we were on the break, and the other day I buy investment property and flip. And so we had finally finished this home that we were renovating. We were putting it on the market, and so we were having an open house that first weekend. And so I was sticking some signs out, right? Yeah. And these other guys on the other corner of the street are putting their own signs in the ground, but theirs is for a garage sale or something. And so they we're like, oh, hey, we're both putting up signs. We must like each other, So we're like chatting across the road. Yeah. And they're like, oh, you're selling a house? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, we want to buy a house. And I'm like, well, you can buy this one. And they're like, well, we don't have, 20% down, or we don't have the money for the down payment. And it's 2019, right? This was in 2018, so we got to give them that. Sure. But I remember thinking, and I told them, I was like, well, you don't really need 20% down, to get a home. And if you want to buy a home, you ought to, call a lender, and they can kind of tell you, how to make that work. And it doesn't cost anything to do that. No. So I was scratching my head. I was like, does everybody still think that? But I think there's a misconception out there with people. There's probably people renting right now that wanted to buy that thought, well, I don't have 20% down, so I can't buy a home. So do you run into that? Because you're doing this every day. This is something I do, once or twice a year.
We do a lot with it. So we have buyers come to us through a million different avenues, right? Sign calls, internet leads, referrals. So we're catching them at all different points in the process. Right. And you would be shocked at how many people still exactly 20%. They think that 20% is a down payment. And look, if you have 20%, that's awesome. Yeah, you eliminate totally. PMI, but sure. that is not necessary. And honestly, for first-time home buyers, it's unrealistic. It's like you and I were saying, I didn't have 20% to put down on a home until after I sold my first house.
Yeah,
right?
I'm the same way. If I hadn't, bought my first home in the downturn of the real estate market, I probably wouldn't have had 20% when I bought the next home.
I know I wouldn't have it all. Yeah, but I mean, like I was saying earlier, there's a million programs. There's 3% conventionals, there's 3.5% FHAs, 5%. I mean, if you can scrounge together some, and I mean, seriously, in some cases, $5,000-$6,000, you can own a home. And the great thing about that is it's tax return season. Yeah, you might be getting $3,000 or $4,000 right now. Yeah, there are a lot of people who are a lot closer to home ownership than they realize. And what happened in 2008, I think, turned some people off. Sure. They just think lenders and banks are going to screw them. We don't use customer service in our office. We use client experience, and we make sure that our vendors, part of the reason that you and I specifically connected was we're both impassioned about the exact same thing. Right. I'm not passionate about real estate. I'm passionate about people making the wisest financial decision that can affect their ability to build wealth, and that's a home. Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many people just willy-nilly make the most ridiculous decisions based around the most expensive thing they will ever buy. It's crazy.
It's funny, and I don't remember the number either, but it was I think it was in the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, or one that I was reading was, I mean, the difference between the net worth of just somebody who owns a home. We could have the same exact job, make the same exact amount of money, but one of us is a homeowner and one of us rents, and the net worth of the homeowner versus the renter is it's like 10x. I mean, it's massive, and they're not really doing anything a whole lot different. One of them is just the money they're spending every month for their housing or lodging is going back into their pocket in equity, where in the other scenario you're paying down
somebody else's
maybe you
equity.
Might be paying down my equity if I own that home, or yours if you're if you're the landlord. So which position do you want to be in?
Well, exactly. And I don't remember what the number was, and this may be like way over the top, but I think it's something like that. Like the average American homeowner is worth $220,000 or something like that. Mm-hmm. The person who doesn't own a home maybe has $8,000.
Yeah, it's
crazy
nuts.
different. Yeah. It's crazy different. Yeah, home ownership's where it's at, man.
Absolutely.
You're going to pay that every month anyways. Why not pay it for your own stuff?
Exactly. Right? I couldn't agree more. Well, I'm glad we cleared that up. Yeah. So, but it is funny that some of these, the 20% down rule, I mean, that goes to the 50s.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So interesting. So, hey, I want to ask you another question. Mm-hmm. So, we interview a lot of real estate agents on the show from time to time. And typically I'm talking to Matt Kelderman with the Matt Kelderman Group. Yeah. And today it's Matt Kelderman, CEO of the HergGroup. So will you kind of explain like the HergGroup, what does that mean, and how does that all work in with what you're doing?
Yeah. So there used to be that. I was Matt Kelderman Realty for a little while until I realized that was illegal. And then I was the Kelderman Group. So, here's the reality, and I, in full transparency, I am an amazing real estate agent. I had trouble building the back end systems part. So I was able to partner with a gentleman named Adam Hergenrother, who's just like an elite level real estate agent who's figured out the business side of things.
Right.
And essentially was able to bring in this tower of marketing and administrative staff and coaching and leadership. And it has allowed me to climb that tower to whatever level of success you want, right? Same thing with the agents on our team. I mentor them and leader them, but I don't really like being a boss. I'm not a boss, right?
Right.
So we encourage them to do that same thing. It's really what it's done is it allowed me to focus on what I do well, which is the relationships, understanding the inventory, making sure my clients can build wealth, and not worrying about whether or not I hired the right administrative staff.
Right.
Who's
You're
going to
like
make sure these docs
front
get
end.
out.
You're a front end guy,
All day.
vision guy, right?
Yeah.
And the Herd Group brought the back end infrastructure to facilitate what you do best.
Yep. It was a 7-year gap I was able to bridge with one step.
Right.
Right, because that's how long it would have taken me to build out what I now have access to. And Her Group's it's a large brand. We're the second largest team inside Keller Williams,
Wow.
which is a big deal.
Yeah.
And we're the 18th largest real estate team in the world. So the Her Group will help. I don't know what the number is for 2018, but it's going to be close to 2,000 families gotten a home. So we'll be higher than 18th next year.
And the Herd Group headquarters is?
So home office hub is in Vermont.
Okay.
Right. So
Right.
we're the Dallas arm of that.
Right.
We're able to help people all over the country. So we're in Seattle and Atlanta, and I'm a Midwest guy originally. I'm from Iowa.
Yeah.
So we got teams in Minnesota, Wisconsin, all over the place. And what it really does is it allows us to have a way further reach than I would have as an individual agent.
Right.
Right. Which is great for me specifically.
So of the 2,000 families, like 5 of them were in Vermont, because does anybody even live there?
You know, the
that's
craziest
weird.
thing is Vermont is growing like they have these
It's
weird,
beautiful
They
there.
have these weird incentives where they pay you to move to Vermont. Like if you're young, they will pay you to move to Vermont
Do
because
you have
they
to be
need
like in the
people
maple syrup
I don't know.
business or something?
like an amazing skier. I don't
Yeah.
know. We were just up there in October, and I've never been to that part of the country. It's unreal.
Yeah, in October, that's like height of the
It
fall.
was
It must
the
have been
time.
crazy.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
it was
I bet.
beautiful. It was snowing at the top of some of the mountains, and you go down. Like I said, I've lived in Texas and Iowa my whole life. Mountains are alien to me.
Yeah. You got to go pretty far west to see them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's interesting. That's cool. So it sounds like you've got the best of both things.
Yeah.
You're able to focus on your strengths, and then the Herd Group has brought in the backside of things to get, I guess basically to dot the I's and cross the T's, so to speak, right?
For sure. Because look, at the end of the day, nobody's good at everything that's involved with being a real estate agent. You cannot be a master of lead generation, of marketing, of administrative staff. You can't. You just even if you could do all of it, there's
brain
no
and right
time.
brain stuff,
Yeah.
right?
So you have to have aces where they're at, and so we're just able to offer a much better experience through the partnership with Her Group than I would have ever been able to do on my own.
Absolutely. Well, that makes really good sense. So let me, Zach, how are we doing on time, man? I feel like I might have blanked or something. Are we good?
Did I not throw you a 2?
I couldn't remember if that was first segment or last segment.
Now's not a bad time to wrap up.
Mr. Kelderman's just, I'm so entranced with
enraptured.
Yes.
that he's totally got me off key here.
Yeah.
So, well, why don't we do this? Let's take a break.
Yeah.
And we'll come back in a few minutes and finish this up.
Sounds great, man.
All right. This is the Working Title Show with Zach Sams. We'll see you in a few.
Yeah.
This is Stone Temple Pilots here.
Yeah, that brought it in strong.
Yeah, they like our listenership.
Coming in hot.
Yes, that's right. That was a good one, Zach. Good job there.
Thank you.
I like that. What is that? Rock 10?
It's Hard Rock Demon.
Hard Rock Demon.
I went to
Nice.
college. Let's just.
They went to college, or you went to college?
I went to college, and now I'm.
and that's where you met them?
DJing Hard Rock Demon in here. That's
Yeah,
what I
they
got
played.
going on.
They
yeah.
played at your frat house.
That's right.
Okay,
Nice.
Figured.
Nice.
Yeah, that
Wish
makes
I was in a
sense.
frat.
Yeah. I wish I was in one now. Okay. All right. Well, we are back, and he stayed for another segment. Matt Kelderman, CEO of the Herd Group, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Matt, thanks for being with us, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. So, hey, we were, before we got started today, I was kind of asking you, what separates y'all? What makes, with 60,000 real estate license holders in DFW or the Netris system. You know, it's a lot. Yeah. And then the funny thing is only 57% of those license holders actually sell at least one house per year. So, I mean, that's it's kind of a watered down, you know, industry, you know, if you want to look at it from that point of view. So, how do you know, I asked you, how do you separate yourself amongst all of these real estate agents out there? And you told me we're relational, not transactional.
Yeah.
And I've heard that before, and I think I know what it means, but tell me what it means to you, and like, how does that play into you, your team, and how y'all operate with the people that choose to work with you?
Yeah. So I am kind of a lunatic about the words you use.
Sure.
I don't use think, I use believe. We don't use customer service, we use client experience. And I think it goes a lot into the mindset of just telling yourself that that's what it is. I train a lot of new agents, and new agents want the magic pill, right? Because regardless of what you think, get into real estate.
Because they got into real estate to get rich quick.
Exactly,
right? It's
exactly.
easy.
And it's like, well, you don't have to do
flying
anything.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Chip and Joanna Gaines said it's super simple, right? Like whatever. So
I watch HGTV. How hard is it going to be?
Exactly. Yeah. Here's what I tell people. Zillow, Amazon, those are transactional. And honestly, I'll steal this from the speaker from the dinner mastermind, right? When he was talking about tribal and stuff like that. People want that relational connection. We feel more disconnected than ever. And we're all tough guys in the comment section of social media. But at the end of the day, I feel like we have so massively swung to the other side of the pendulum where we became so transactional in everything that we do.
Well, they say like the millennials are the most connected people, like on their phones and virtually, but they're like feel the most lonely of any segment ever.
And millennials get bagged on all the time by everybody. My millennial clients are the best. You know who doesn't hassle me about commissions?
Yeah.
Millennials. Right?
I'm a freaking millennial.
You know, I'm just on the back side of it. I'm 79, so I still get like, I'll be 40 in like a month.
Old ass Gen X weirdo.
I tell people I'm born in 79, they're like, what the hell? God. But the thing is, where people, I think, struggle with millennials, they don't know where to find them, right? Millennials aren't going to be tricked into your clickbait ad on Facebook. They know what happens there, right?
Yeah. One of them probably invented that when they're like 8.
Exactly. Yeah. Once they're in your system, though, they are hands down the best clients. And here's the other thing, too. They're young. How many houses do you think they're going to buy in their life as well?
Probably a few.
Yeah. So I love that.
And they get bored quick. So they buy them fast. They buy and sell faster than anybody.
Every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
right? I'm going to them
go.
like, wait a minute, you haven't made enough yet. You need to stay in this house a little bit longer than this.
20%. We don't need that. Yeah, I've heard your podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And I just feel like in a business where their emotions run high, right? A buyer walks into a house, they fall in love with it. You know, it has the backyard, it's in the school or whatever. If you're not a relationship-based agent, and look, there are plenty of agents in this city who do way more business than I do, and they are transactional. I'm not saying you can't have success.
Right.
I'm saying for us, for the clients that I represent and the agents on our team, that's not what we're focused on. I'm not the kind of agent who, if you told me, hey, go out and find business tomorrow that'll close in 2 weeks, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, go make a relationship with this guy, and in 6 months he's going to close. I closed 2 deals last year. Those people have been in my pipeline for over 2 years.
Wow.
And
it's like we said at the beginning, the window's like 24 months now. I mean, you think about it a long time.
Absolutely. And most agents would have just given up on that. And I'm not saying I called them every day, but I reached out. How's everything going? Get to know about their kids. Stay in relationship with them.
Right.
And they're the only person. You're the only person they think about when it comes to real estate if you do that.
Well, let's say you're showing homes to people, right? And then you're the relational agent, and then there's the transactional agent. What are the differences, like, in the actual, as you're, looking for a home or on the market selling a home? Like, what are the differences in a relational and a transactional agent?
So we got a home under contract last week that the guy, for some reason, he's basing his whole home purchase off of this amazing television he has, which to me is kind of ass backwards. Maybe buy a new TV when you get your $200,000 house or whatever.
So he bought a new TV. Now he needs a new house to put the TV in.
To put this giant TV in. But it's super important to him, right?
Yeah.
And finding the house isn't the problem. But we're literally standing in a vacant house.
Finding a big enough wall.
Yeah, and we're in a vacant house, and we're looking at it, and it was exactly that. We're looking around the house, and I looked at him. I said, I want you to mentally place all of your furniture in this space right now. And he realized there was a door on each wall, a hallway behind him, and a window on the other one. The house didn't work. He was in love with it. Right? In love with this house. But when I brought up the fact that, hey, all the reasons you told me that you want a house, this doesn't match them. And we walked away from that transaction.
Right.
A transactional agent
Closed.
is just chasing that
Make
deal.
the offer.
Oh, he's excited.
Let's go.
Let's write it, man.
You like it? You like it? Let's do it. All right.
If my team leader Tommy Flood tells a story about this couple that he represented one time, and the husband literally said the only reason we're still married is because I like to garden, and if I don't have a backyard to garden in, I'm going to go crazy and we'll get divorced.
Yeah.
I don't remember how the story ends, but I think they end up getting divorced because they didn't buy a house that had a backyard in it, because ultimately they settled on something, right? Mm-hmm. I just feel like people are going to be in their house for a long time. It's a referral-based business.
That was kind of a key point for him that the agent should have keyed in on,
maybe, right?
Yeah.
And maybe the story's just being told to create a point, but I've seen it come to fruition too many times.
Yeah.
So I just think a relational agent is going to, when we ask questions, we go deep. It's not how many bedrooms and bathrooms do you want? Oh, you want to live in Richardson? Tell me why. Oh, the schools are good. Oh, your schools? Yeah, we have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old. Oh, what are their names? Right?
Yeah.
We're going super deep on that stuff because it matters. I have a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All my decisions are based around that guy.
Sure, of course.
Yeah. So I think that's the major difference, is we're making decisions based on their overall well-being, whereas a transactional agent is making a decision based on his commission check or her commission check.
Right. They're more about the dollars and cents.
Absolutely.
Versus if you're taking care of people, that happens naturally. The money comes.
Yep.
Right.
It's a slower
and
burn.
You're in for the long term.
Yeah, it's a slower burn, but the roots of that go deep.
Yeah.
They go super deep, which is awesome.
That's awesome. Well, that makes good sense. So tell us, if somebody wants to be with that relational agent, they want to get in, they want to, they're thinking about selling, thinking about buying this year. How do they get a hold of you and your team? Like, where do they go to find you?
We're everywhere, man. You can find us on Facebook. You can come friend me on Facebook, Matt Kelderman. I'm right out there, right?
Right.
My Facebook's a very public forum, so you can see a lot about me before you even call me. I'm radically transparent with everything I do. You can find us at HergGroup DFW on Facebook, dallas.herggroup.com online. Call me, my personal cell, 214-298-0772.
And we'll put all this on the website and the page for sure.
Yeah, I am highly available. My schedule is highly time blocked. So I have family time in there. So if you reach out to me, I will get back to you as soon as I am done with family stuff. Because other than that, it's work, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So let me. We got a few minutes left. So let me ask you this. So, and I like to ask these questions, especially in January. So, people, like earlier, people are thinking, hey, this is the year I buy. This is the year we're going to sell for whatever reason, first home, second home, whatever, right? Like, when they're thinking about that, what do you, like, if you could impart knowledge or put knowledge into their brain, like, what do they need to know about going into the market in 2019? Like, are you seeing consistent mistakes or consistent misconceptions on the market?
Yeah.
Like, what would you tell somebody that's thinking about that right now to have the best experience possible?
Yeah. Inventory will start to tick up as we move into the spring.
Right.
The sellers perceive that as a good time to sell. So there's just going to be more opportunity out there for you as a buyer. Right. We've already seen that. Our listings are about to go through the roof. Everybody's ready to go now. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have a good chance of inventory. Interest rates are going up. So if you wait till later in the year, you're going to lose purchase power. I mean, that's a fact. Interest rates are going to go up a couple more times this year, right?
So purchase power.
Right.
When you say rates are going up, I don't think people always understand what that means. Mm-hmm. So if today, what are interest rates today? 4?
I've seen on paper, like, actual interest rates people are getting. People are getting 5s now, right? Like, on paper for their loans for sure.
Okay, so today at 5%, I can afford, X amount of home, $200,000, let's say. But if I wait till September and rates are at 5.5 or 6 or whatever they are, they're higher. Your purchase power means that I can't afford $200,000 anymore, right?
No, and I don't know the exact number, but I mean, it's call it 175, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're losing a lot of value, and look, the home prices aren't coming down because interest rates go up.
No,
right? So if you're on,
it's just what you can buy.
Exactly, right. And Dallas is already, well, DFW in general, it's already, I wouldn't say a difficult market to purchase a home in, but it's a competitive market, right? So you need to understand what the lending side of things and what you can really afford. And look at it from a monthly payment perspective, right? What are you comfortable paying monthly? That should be your gauge, because those payments are going to go up year over year. It's going to appreciate. Your taxes are going to go up. And then just making sure that you're just hooked up with somebody who understands the area. I have clients that I don't represent, not because I'm awesome. If I don't know about an area, I'm not going to represent a client there. Right. There's just too much opportunity for me to screw up.
Sure.
So I think that those are the two big things that people really need to look out for in 2019 is there are desperate real estate agents out there.
Yep.
I mean, here's just the cold hard truth. There are going to be a lot of real estate agents who have to leave our industry because they were only closing a few deals anyway and barely making it, and they're scrounging right now, right? So they're going to tell and sell you anything. If they're discounting for a reason. An agent who discounts doesn't have the value of an agent who doesn't. I firmly believe that.
Sure.
And then pairing that with rising interest rates, it's just going to be a little bit of a different market, but it's still prime time to buy. Dallas is a strong housing market, so you're not going to turn around tomorrow and be in bad shape.
Right.
I think it's just getting with somebody and having a conversation about your actual situation, and don't go online and fill out mortgage calculators. That is not accurate, right? Like, get with somebody who understands what's going on.
Right.
For sure.
Ask around.
Yeah.
Find the people that are resourceful.
Yeah. Everybody knows 10 of us, right? Like, there's real estate agents, lenders, title people everywhere right now.
So make it easy. Call Matt.
Yeah, just call me. Don't call those other 10 goons. Exactly.
Awesome, man. Well, Matt, had a great time having you on today.
Yeah, man. I
great
appreciate
information.
It. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. This is a blast. This is a sweet setup. I love it.
Well, you can thank Mr. Zach Lewis for that.
I know.
Can't take credit there.
Making it happen.
Thanks.
You got it, man. Matt, come back and see us, man.
Anytime.
You got it. This has been the Working Title Show with Zach Sams, and we will see you next time.
Later.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for subscribing to the podcast and listening today. I want to give a special thanks to Kensington Vanguard National Title of Texas. The show is sponsored by them, and Kensington Vanguard is a national title company with local people working here in Dallas-Fort Worth, specializing in commercial title insurance and residential title insurance. Kensington Vanguard will handle your escrow needs as well as your title insurance and your closing services. So you can go to the website at www.kv-lonestar.com to find our locations and our contact information. And we appreciate you using Kensington Vanguard National Title of Texas. We look forward to seeing you next week, where we will be talking about solar energy in the residential and commercial spaces. And we are really excited to hear about that. Something I wanted to know about, so I'm really excited to hear more about how that works. So we'll catch you next time on Working Title with Zach Sams. Thank you.
You're listening to RMCN, the digital destination for premium talk radio.